Hi everyone, it's Sean from STK Markets here this afternoon. We've got EQR with us here today. We've got Oliver, the Chair, Executive Chair of EQR. They've just done a big fundraise, very well funded at the moment. We're going ahead in leaps and bounds. The changes at the top have been astounding. But Ollie, you're the Western world's largest producer of tungsten in the market, and things are happening, things are growing. It's good to have you here.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, good to be back, and indeed, it's quite an exciting time there. Yeah, with all the recent news that we put out already, I guess we are seeing good movements in the market, and we just need to make sure that we kind of keep following on our side.
Just before we get into what's happening in the market and who's recently joined, who we're very well aware of and impressed with, we just have a quick operational update. What's happening in Spain, the recovery rates there with that extra sorter, and in Mount Carbine, you're progressing towards the higher grade. Can you just give us a quick update for a couple of minutes on those two mines at the moment?
Absolutely, Sean. Yeah, we've mentioned a couple of other media snaps there that we're very happy with progress in Spain. Just was in Europe last week. Kevin has spent the entire, I think, end of April until end of May in Spain on the ground, assisting the guys and preparing actually the commissioning and final construction stage of the third sorter, which is an absolute game changer for the operations. So we do believe that there's still another 20-25% uptick to be realized just with the addition of that additional ore sorter. Optimizes the front end of the plant, provides us higher grade feed into the gravity circuit, which make it simply operate better, and further enhance the recovery rate. So we are very happy that this is all on track. Again, construction is ongoing, and yeah, we'll see, I guess, a positive output increase then latest in the third quarter, end of the third quarter. Carbine, we are through a heavy stripping program, as we mentioned, and that was one of the reasoning for the race as well, to get the infrastructure set up for it. I think we're all chasing the big prize. The big prize is the main ore body, the Yulans vein package, which unfortunately sits under that southern fault there. So the south wall needs another 850,000 tons of stripping. So we are going as hard as we can, trying to mobilize additional resources on that front as well. We know the grade is there, Sean. You have been at site, so we're very confident that we deliver the units into the market towards the second half of the year. So yeah, we'll keep focusing on that one as we speak, and certainly with the M&A activities ongoing on the corporate level, not distracting the operational teams. Yeah, also progressing on that front.
I think the key thing you've mentioned in some other videos I just highlight here for our investors, the drilling's been done. You've spent a couple of $1 million, $2 million on drilling. You know where it is now. You know where it's gone. These are your results, not previous owners' results. So you can really target that high grade, which is what everyone wants to hear. People, Oliver, every other week you seem to be growing the team with very impressive people. We've been in this game for a while. We know how important people are. We've seen what's happened with Southern Cross. We've seen what's happened with a few of our other investments, but people are the key. You're adding this strength to the team with people we've known through our dealings with the Tungsten Metals Group, which we'll touch on later. We dealt with the ambassador in Vietnam. I've seen he's joined your team. You've got John O'Coot, who's joined as the CFO. That was something the market was really looking for. And obviously, we've already had Craig Bradshaw on previously. I mean, his knowledge of tungsten is just as good as yours. So we've got some really good industry-specific people or government-related who have joined the team. It's just really good to see.
Yes, Sean, absolutely. I mean, you have got to know some of these characters, and it falls in pretty nicely. Everything comes at the right time, I would say. So these are people that know the EQR story, that know the environment, that knows the management team. As I mentioned before, I mean, we have a strategic relation with Masan in Vietnam, a company that Greg has been building out to what it is today, the largest player outside of China. And we're very pleased to have these very close relationships on that level, and now having the opportunity to have Greg assisting the board and the management team on again advancing on its strategies is just fantastic. It's an absolute win-win, I guess, also for our customer base. They trust Greg, they know him. Likewise for the former ambassador to Vietnam, and before that actually was in Malaysia and has helped critical minerals companies, Lynas to name one of them. So Andrew has been an absolute win to us as well. We had very good working relationships with Andrew and his entire team up in Hanoi. over the last 2 years already. So we got to know him extremely well. And yeah, I'm very pleased that with his retirement from his government duties, he takes on a support role with EQR. So we can't really ask for more. And obviously, Jono is a week on his job and already making a significant impact to the group with his personal experience, the network, and I think a full personal buy-in into the story. And yeah, so from that point of view, I think we've done quite a few things pretty right. Not to mention that, as I said on other occasions, we have a large team on the ground in Spain and in Australia. People that don't get really mentioned, but they form the backbone. Very loyal employees and key people that put their sweat in every day. So, and I think the chemistry is right between the teams. So that's good ingredients to move on.
Certainly from our dealings with them historically and now, that it certainly appears everyone's got the right focus of getting to profitability and doing it the right way. That the contacts from Craig Bradshaw, there's a container in Nottingham, there's a container there that's been done because it's so scarce at the moment. Like that's the thing, there's not much tungsten around. And you are the biggest producer in the Western world, and other people try to take the claim. But if you look at the numbers, what you actually are producing, you are number one in the market. How is that market looking? We've heard a lot of whispers, a lot of shouts that the price of tungsten has gone through the roof. We've been predicting this for the last several years, that the geopolitical landscape would push tungsten up as it's been happening. But can you just give us some updates? There's some crazy things happening in the market at the moment in terms of higher pricing than what we've ever seen.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we always say that what happened in February with the Chinese shutting the gates, not only on tungsten, but a wide range of critical materials and technologies to process. We saw for tungsten specifically a 30% up in price. It's a week by week development. And we are in touch with the pricing agencies, not to name them individually, but reputable groups that call us on a weekly basis. They call customers and other suppliers, and we are all trying to find real transactions because the market is so short that you don't have a lot of liquidity in the market. And if there's again material available, it goes out, at significant higher prices to the week before. Look, I mean, we hear prices that are already 10% above the current index, but it's not for me to comment on what the right price is. I mean, Fast Markets has quoted 445 on their high price. I think it's very difficult to get physical material for that price already this week. So that is expected to continue to increase. And the interesting thing is, as I said, just got back from Europe. We do see customers that basically go on short working hours because they cannot find raw material. They cannot produce their own products. They have to send people home on a weekly basis. So it's pretty scary. And I think it's just starting to have that negative impact in the supply chains. If you look at magnets and rare earth materials, you hear it every day. Automotive companies are basically reducing output because they can't get their parts secured there. So I think it's a structural shift overall. We mentioned it a couple of times. I think Greg in our latest one-on-one interview highlighted the fact that China is going downstream, right? And I said as well. I mean, years ago you looked at cheap electronic products, your iPad and whatnot. Today you buy advanced electric vehicles from China. So there's a structural shift. There's also a structural shift in tungsten mining with output having decreased from Chinese mining companies over the last 3-4 years already, and that's technical reasons. And as a bottom line, just to comment on what we might see in the second half of the year, is that with all the Trump tariff policies, that certainly has shaken up the world entirely, and effectively, when we look at the base industries, the base manufacturing, people are holding off large investments. It's not that the tungsten demand is driven by what the historical applications were, the tools, oil and gas, automotive. Demand in these sectors is more or less stagnant. It's really the defense and the energy side that drives the demand side. And I guess once the tariff jungle, is taken down, and people really understand what the rules of the games are moving forward, from the administration in the US, driven by them, I guess you'll see demand picking up from the base industry. and that will certainly further put pressure on the price. So we are very optimistic moving into 2026 that we see absolute record pricing numbers that we've never seen before.
Well, we've seen with our antimony, it just keeps going, going, going. Does that mean at EQR, the price we're getting, is that a reflection of where the prices are at now in terms of the product we're pushing out to the market?
I would say yes. I mean, we are linked fully to the index price. We are unhedged. We normally negotiate a payable factor. That means the metal price minus a certain discount. That is what we are on what basis we are selling our concentrate. But as the metal price goes up, as the APT price goes up, we are getting 100% of that upside. That is obviously playing into the books. What I should highlight is that you always have a little bit of a revenue delay. So, I mean, look at the export ban from February or the export restrictions in February, just moving the price above 400. I can share with you that the 400 is not yet what we have collected in revenue. So we're always seeing that 4 to 6 to 8 weeks delay because the current shipments are just revenues being collected a month later or two. So we haven't fully recognized that price addition in our own books in terms of cash flow and in terms of revenue. So that's certainly something we look forward towards the end of this quarter, next quarter, to really realize those higher prices as we deliver more volume into market. At the moment.
That's fantastic. So as Mount Carbine starts to hit that full grain, that's when the higher prices should be. So actually, it's worked out inadvertently very well for the company.
Well, certainly. I mean, we have put out a timetable to the market internally. We are certainly delayed on the stripping side, but anyway, we are going through it. And a matter of the fact is we are seeing improvements in recovery across the board. Expansion in carbine is come due in the second half of the year. So that lowers our cost base, our unit cost base, and reporting that into a higher price. Obviously, that's exactly what shareholders want to see. But there's still a bit of work ahead of us. But we're very positive. And again, we work hand in glove with our customers because they're in dire need of material. We don't want to see customers shutting down their facilities because there's not enough tungsten available, because the possible result out of this is that potential Chinese supplier of tools or end products would gain market share. So we want to make sure that the entire supply chain is filled. We look at other developers and trying to help where we can. I think the Western world needs to become more independent. Otherwise, our own customer base, our manufacturing base in the Western world will disappear, and that cannot be in our interest. So we're pushing as hard from an industry perspective.
Well, I think you've got your offtakes locked in with your customers. You wanted them, they'll be there for the longer term. So I guess those offtakes from yours and their perspective now is a very good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that plays into the strategy again, also, supporting our acquisitions on TMG. We want to make sure that we can deliver units into the smelter, despite obviously following through on all the commitments that we have entered. But we're pretty much sold out at the moment. That's not good for our marketing guys. They like to make deals, but
Well, it's good as a shareholder, which I am, that you've put all your product out to market. Touching on the TMG side of things, lastly, I know from our end, having worked with TMG for several years, that's how we know the ambassadors, and we've got to know a lot of the people that you've had joining EQR, the Craig Bradshaws of the world, who are very impressive. Things are starting to really finalise. I know we've spoke to the corporate guys this week, and I know there's been contracts going back to EQR that you sent to us. So I know there's things really, really close at hand, which is fabulous. Realistically, that deal looks like it's coming to a conclusion.
Absolutely, and I think again also with your support initially, and I mean in November when we signed the deal, it still is, but we were all very bullish also on the timeline. I guess it's a very exciting deal for both sides. It's an absolute win-win. And the point is that I guess we've just had to work thoroughly, piece by piece, through the due diligence process, audited accounts, etc., etc. So that all fell in the first quarter. We've worked through this part. We had a fantastic production run, supported by the TMG team on the ground. A re-audit, by the RMI, the Responsible Minerals Initiative, which you need to get certified, that you basically process non-conflict material. So all that has been achieved in the first few months of this year. It took a bit longer maybe than all of us wanted it. Again, being super excited of concluding this deal. But as you said, we're pretty close. I think it's down to the last dots and commas on legal documentation. We had to rearrange a few things in the way we implement the deal. But that actually means that there's more TMG shareholders buying into the story, given that we are running at a 90% threshold. So we need 90% of TMG shareholders and stakeholders voting for the deal, which we are very confident. And you just have to, again, get it all laid out and prepared properly. And yeah, we're looking forward to execute on it. And as you alluded to, we have been on the ground for the production run. We have been supporting TMG and the ATC team in Vietnam to find new customers. We've started to deliver into the Japan market with new customers. We've shipped first samples into Korea now. So we are super excited getting this thing concluded and moving on.
Oliver, I have to say something, being a large shareholder of TMG myself, when we first approached EQR, it was a seamless operation. The only player in the market that has the power to get the tungsten to put through the kiln. The investors that we have put into TMG have to realise the other offers that were on the table couldn't fund it. They couldn't get the funding because they don't have the tungsten to go into the kiln. And this is the key reason why EQR is the best suitor for TMG in this particular instance, because you've got the funding for it, you've got the tungsten for it, you can get the trade finance if needed from your partner Cronymed. The other parties that TMG spoke to didn't have these things. So this investment that we went into, coming into EQR, where you're about to have your revenues turbocharged with your current mines, where we're looking at Mount Carbine, where you've done that RC drilling, spent $2 million, you know where the veins are now, you know where you've got a target, you're getting through the stripping and those high revenues, high grades, more recoveries will come through, which can feed the furnace in Vietnam, or the product's already going to Vietnam. You've already dealt in Vietnam, you've got the ambassador, you've got Craig Bradshaw, who we know. It's a 1 + 1 = 5 situation. So I'll personally be voting all my shares into this transaction because it's really the only way for TMG shareholders to move forward. So, and I think with where EQR is at its price that we're getting the EQR shares, unfortunately, Oliver, I think it's very cheap. So thankfully, we're getting it at a good level where we can get a lot of upside through the EQR story, because the reality is your peers, which are not producing anywhere near half as what you're producing with 3-4 times the debt, are 8 times your share price. So there's a hell of a lot of upside for a Western world producer that's got a track record of delivering in Saloro. You'll get Mount Carbine fixed. You're going to deliver on TMG because you're already selling the product. You've already got your team with Square working and moving product with George Chen and the team over in Vietnam, and they're very supportive of the transaction. So I think it's a very exciting time, and I'm pleased that we're giving our shareholders this update in TMG so they can understand the fortunate situation they're in by getting EQR shares at the time of when they're getting them.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we as I said, we look forward closing this one out, and the people behind both businesses have known each other. That's the good thing in the tungsten world. It's a very small family, and yeah, we're very comfortable, and let's get things done, and happy to report once it's closed. So thanks for the time giving that update to everybody, and we'll get things done.
Thanks, Oliver. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Sean.